Let's talk Materia Medicas. Welcome back to the Plant Path, everybody. I'm Seja Popham. And, as herbalists, we love our books, don't we? Love our books. I think building a good herbal library is essential because you gotta have trustworthy, excellent reference materials to learn about your medicinal plants. And I think this is a really important to talk about. This is why I kind of started a category over on the Plant Path blog for building your herbal library because, there's a lot of really bad herb books out there. In fact, I think there might be more bad herb books out there than there are good herb books out there, especially now. And in fact, you have to be really careful these days because, and I don't know if you all knew this, but apparently a very large majority of herbal medicine books available on Amazon today are actually not written by humans. They are generated by AI. And that is a little bit frightening to me. And I think it's very important to make sure that your herbal library is built on and written by good herbalists, like people that actually use herbs, people that have quality education on herbs, but also have quality experience with herbs. And, last week I talked a little bit about the different types of monographs for herbs and the most important types of monographs being clinically oriented monographs, right? Monographs that will point the clinician towards the appropriate use of an herb so that you can hopefully find the right herb for the right person, right? That's the ultimate goal. And that means having really great Materia Medicas. Materia Medica is just what it sounds like, right? The materials of medicine. It is a collection of clinically relevant monographs. And I would say not all herb books have very great Materia Medicas in them. As I mentioned last week, I think there's a certain information that's very useful to have in a Materia Medica. Not all of them have all of it, but this is why I ultimately encourage you to develop your own monographs that make sense to you. But, I get questions all the time about what does my library look like? What are my favorite books? What are the ones that I'm constantly going back to reference time and time again? So I want to share my top 5 clinical Materia Medicas with you, talk a little bit about the books, talk about what I like about them, what I may not like that much about them, and why I use them. But first, I want to tell you about Materia Medica Monthly. Right now, we are in open enrollment for Materia Medica Monthly. We are at the tail end of our 2026 enrollment period. We are closing tomorrow at midnight Pacific. So go check it out. There's a link in the description below. You should totally sign up for it. This is an amazing deal that we've got going right now. You can join Materia Medica Monthly for $27 a month, or if you pay for a year up front, you get 12 months for the price of 10. So this is a sweet deal. This is the only time of year where we offer that annual plan to get in there for 12 months for the price of 10. Also, for those of you that sign up now, you are going to get a special workshop series that's only for people that sign up in this window. I'm not even letting people that are already in Materia Medica Monthly into these workshops. These workshops will be exclusively for you. Live Q&A session. It's a great opportunity to have some direct contact with me, ask me all of your questions that you might have about herbs, and also get some really amazing live classes with me. So click the link in the description, check out Materia Medica Monthly. We are only open for another day. Don't Don't email in and get all mad at us because you missed out. I'll let you know. I've been letting you know for the last few weeks that this is coming. So be sure to head on over there, check it out. We would love to have you be in Materia Medica Monthly. That is our way of trying to provide some really excellent educational materials out there for those of you that want to continue your development on your plant path. Maybe you're on a little bit of a budget. You can't afford to enroll in a couple $1,000 course. Totally get it, especially with the way things are right now in the world. Things are tight. I get it for a lot of folks. So Materia Medica Monthly is a great option for you. So I encourage you to check that out. So with that, let's talk Materia Medicas. Well, I wanted to pull some older ones with some more modern ones. And I also wanted to try to talk about some books I haven't talked about in the herbal library category. So first I want to talk about Ellingwood. This is Finley Ellingwood's American Materia Medica Therapeutics and Pharmacognosy. I can never remember that full name by myself. So for those of you that are not familiar, Finley Ellingwood was a physician in the Eclectic tradition of North America. So this was the medical practice, in the 1800s, early 1900s. Eclectic Medical School kind of closed down in the early 1900s. Let's see, preface to the first edition, right, 1898. Now, what I like about Ellingwood, first of all, he's kind of a badass. He's a great doctor. I really like the way he describes the remedies themselves, but what I really like is the way this book is organized. So he has, for example, Group 1, agents acting on the nervous system. Division 1, sedatives and depressants. And then under sedatives and depressants, it'll say Chapter 1, sedatives commonly used in the control of fevers. Chapter 2, sedatives commonly used in the control of pain. Chapter 3, sedatives to induce sleep. Chapter 4, sedatives used for their influence on general nervous irritability. Chapter 5, minor nerve sedatives. Chapter 6, depressants used to induce general and local anesthesia. Not too many remedies that we commonly use. This was kind of at the advent of some modern medicine. So for example, in there, he's got chloroform, ether, nitrous oxide, cocaine, eucaine. I guess there's menthol. Okay, we'll use some menthol and and Novocaine. We don't really commonly use Novocaine. But what's interesting about this is that he's got remedies beyond just herbs. And then chapter 7, sedatives that are especially useful in diseases of women, emmenagogues, ecbolics, oxytocics. So the divisions are very, very cool. That was just division 1 of agents acting on the nervous system. Division 2 is stimulants and excitants. Division 3, agents with stimulant properties involved in active trophic or tonic properties. Group 2, agents acting upon the heart. Group 3, agents acting upon the respiratory tract. Group 4, agents acting upon the stomach, etc. So he organizes it based on organ system, but then on specifics in terms of stimulants, tonics, relaxants, very, very useful divisions. He has a whole section on pharmacy in the beginning that's very interesting. But I like his organization of this book, I think is very useful. Then when you get into the monographs themselves, he goes into the preparations. He talks a little bit about the chemistry, the chemical properties of the herbs. Not that part, not super clinically relevant and necessary all the time. But then I like where he goes into the specific symptomatology, so some of the specific indications that you might look for, and then the therapy, just what do you use this remedy for? And it is not uncommon for those sections to be very detailed, depending on the remedy, of course. But I love my copy of Ellingwood. I reach for Ellingwood all the time. I like this book a lot. You can find this from Eclectic Medical Publications. It's going to cost you a little bit. Sometimes you can find them on the used book market. You might try looking eBay, maybe Amazon, try eBay. But Eclectic Medical Publications does reprints of this. So this was a brand new book. It's going to run you a little bit, but it's worth every penny. My next one is this beautiful dual set that Whitney got me for Christmas a few years ago. That was a pretty sweet Christmas present of King's American Dispensatory. And this was written by Harvey Wixfelter and John Uri Lloyd, two predominant eclectic physicians. Of course, Lloyd was more of the pharmacist. Felter definitely was the practitioner. And again, we've got a very nice organization here of this book. This was also done by Eclectic Publications. Now, this book is a little bit more organized, just kind of alphabetically, really. It does not have the delineations like Ellingwood. So it's in that way, it doesn't have the same type of organization. It's just literally by alphabetical, but it's got a little bit more information about the herb's botanical source. So it's got a little bit of more the description of the plant, a little bit more history, chemical composition. From a clinical perspective, to me, it's like the bottom part: action, medicinal uses, and dosage. Now, it's good to consider the way they talked about herbs. You got to have a little bit more of an understanding of the words they use. So, for example, here it says under Melissa, this would be Melissa officinalis or lemon balm. So, action, medicinal usage, and dosage. So he says, quote, balm is moderately stimulant, diaphoretic, and antispasmodic. So some people hear stimulant and they think, what? Lemon balm's not a stimulant. I thought it calms you down, right? That could be a misnomer, that word stimulant. Well, you got to understand the eclectics, when they say stimulant, they don't mean caffeine stimulant. They don't mean necessarily a nervous system stimulant. They mean it is oftentimes means stimulating the movement of blood, often to the periphery or up to the surface, because notice what the next word is, diaphoretic. So it's moving blood up to the surface. And antispasmodic. A warm infusion drank freely has been serviceable as a diaphoretic in febrile disease and painful menstruation, and to assist the operation of other diaphoretic medicines in combination with ipecacuanha, or ipecac and potassium nitrate. A valuable diaphoretic is formed. It is also occasionally used to assist menstruation. When given in fevers, it may be rendered more agreeable by the addition of lemon juice. The infusion may be taken ad libitum, meaning as much as you want, really. And then he goes in a little bit on related species. So that's all interesting, right? But that's not, like, reading that, we would know, okay, that's not all there is to know about lemon balm. This is how the eclectics use it. It's talking predominantly about the diaphoretic property. Didn't really talk much about it as a carminative. Didn't even really talk about it too much as a nervine. It does say it's antispasmodic. They're mentioning it for painful menstruation, but they're not really talking about its nervine properties. Of course, now, modern day, we know it's very specific: cooling, heat, irritation, hyperthyroid patterns. So again, this is why I think it's important to have a broad range of reference materials. So you got volume 1, volume 2 of King's. I just think this belongs on everyone's shelf. I love King's. They're just beautiful books too. You know, look at these beautiful red hardbound books. These books are going to last forever. Eclectic Publications does a really great job of reprinting these classics that I think belong on everyone's shelf. Very, very good. Now, to go modern for a moment, I really love these two right here. The Earthwise Herbal, Volume 1 and 2. I'm treating these like one book. Volume 1 is Old World Medicinal Plants. Volume 2, New World Medicinal Plants. This basically covers your European Materia Medica. A lot of the Unani Tib herbs too are going to be in here. This is pretty much herbs of North America. Some of you might know I've been a student of Matthew Wood for a very long time. I really love Matthew's work. And what I like about these books here, organization is just alphabetical. His organization is very nice. So he organizes it by the monographs, right? He gives the taste of the herb, the tissue states that herb is indicated for. So here I just opened up to Eschscholzia californica. That would be California poppy. He gives it a little bit of a description of the herb at first. And then he goes into, well, that's not a very good example. Let me find something that's got a little bit of a bigger description here. Let's go wild yam. I'm sure he's got a little more. Yeah. So wild yam. Okay. So it begins with his full kind of a little bit of the history. And then he goes into really his description of how that herb is used therapeutically. Now, Matthew's really neat because, I mean, the guy is a scholar. He really, really knows his history. He has studied the old medical traditions of Western medicine quite extensively. So he really has a knowledge of the history of how these herbs have been used. So a lot of these books have quotes from old doctors, from the Thomsonian era, the physiomedicalist era, the eclectic era, different root doctors, local knowledge from people here in North America, as well as, traditionally for volume 1, more of the European tradition. So that's what I like. I mean, he's quoting Dioscorides and Pliny and Hippocrates and Paracelsus. And, this one right here has quotes from John William Fife. He quotes Ellingwood. He quotes, Felter. He quotes Cook. He quotes, right? So he's really, and he's giving his own knowledge and expertise of these plants as well, his own clinical experience, which I really appreciate. Now, one of the things I love about the way Matthew teaches herbs is he's very pattern oriented, much like myself. So he really weaves together not just what the plant does and not just what types of diseases it treats, but the pattern, like what the constellation of symptoms is in the person, that you could see the deeper interconnections of how to use the herb effectively. So he's got this big, great description here. This is 2 pages on wild yam. And he really unites the taste, the actions, the tissue states, and then the patterns. And then he kind of gives these nice summaries after the description. So he's got a couple pages on wild yam, then the taste, right? Sweet, earthen, acrid, moist. So the taste typically has the energetics there too. Tissue state. So what tissue state is this herb indicated for? So here he's mentioning atrophy and constriction or spasm. And then there's this great section here that I love, and this is one of the reasons why I love these books so much, is the specific indications. And these are typically being pulled from the homeopathic indications, the eclectic indications, and just what do you look for in terms of the properties of this herb? What do you look for in a person that's going to point towards this plant in this kind of quick reference bullet format, which I find very, very useful. So the specific indications also have sub-organizations. So constitution, complexion, characteristic symptoms. So for example, with wild yam, and he puts in italics the really important ones. So for wild yam, the constitutional characteristic symptoms: thin, undernourished people with spasms in the intestines, poor assimilation through the small intestine, decalcification. And then he says also the tongue is usually coated, skin yellow and dry, conjunctiva more or less yellow. There'll be some liver symptoms there. And then it goes through organ specific indications by organ system. So for example, respiration, asthma, whooping cough, bronchitis. And I'm not going to get through all these because there's a lot. Digestion, liver, gallbladder, spasmodic hiccup, abdominal distension and gas, belly muscles tender and contracted, abdominal muscles contracted, constant pain, colic, sharp, cutting pains. See those words? Those are all super, super useful words, like colic, sharp, cutting pains in the gallbladder, abdomen, or ovaries, relieved by pressure, by supporting the abdomen, by drinking, worse from eating. Man, all of those indications are really, really helpful because it's not just abdominal pain. It's like, what type of abdominal pain? What's the nature of the pain? Well, in this case, it would be sharp cutting pain. Relieved by pressure. So relieved by pressing down on it. Very useful. Bowel spasm. Many times the pain extends through the body. Abdominal cramping, uterine cramping, gallstone colic, nausea of pregnancy. There's many more. Female reproductive dysmenorrhea due to ovarian neuralgia. Severe menstrual colic, menopausal women with hip joint disease. Muscular and skeletal hip joint deterioration, cannot find a comfortable position to lie in, tossing and turning at night. Then he goes into preparations and dosage, cautions, any cautionary stuff, and then any literature, basically his references where he's pulling the information from. Super, super useful monographs. Love these monographs. And then what's cool, Earthwise Herbal, is Matthew is kind of a genius in his way because it's all cross-referencing systems. So it also comes down to this one, the Earthwise Herbal Repertory. So what's cool about this repertory, so this is not designed to teach you the herbs per se. This is a reference guide. So what this is organized by, he has energetics, constitutions or tissue states, and then organ systems, and then chronic conditions, and then acute conditions. So for example, if we were to go to 6 tissue states under energetics, 109, I'll open right to that. How about that? So he's giving information about that tissue state, and then he will give a list of the herbs. Recommended herbs for cold. Angelica archangelica, warming, stimulating, dries water, generates oil. Artemisia absinthium, warming, stimulating, softening, anthelmintic. So just quick little things, right? It's a reference tool. Now the energetics ones are a little more, let's go nose, sinuses, upper respiratory. So 162. This is because these books all are cross-linking. So the way I use Matthew's system is you think of the person that's got a problem in a certain organ system. You go to that organ system in your repertory. If you're having a hard time figuring out, you're like, there's an issue in the nose, sinuses, and respiratory tract. Then under here, he's got specific symptoms: nosebleeds, nasal polyps, allergies, adenitis, initial twinge of a head cold, rhinitis, sinusitis, head cold, and then a formulary. Okay, so then say you're working with someone with sinusitis, rhinitis, head cold. Now the way this works is this is just a big list of remedies. It's all it is a list with a couple specific indications in parentheses, and then the really, really like his favorites or his ones that he deems great tend to be in all caps. So for example, Achillea, hot tea. Allium cepa, runny nose with excoriated nostrils. Althea, hoarseness, laryngitis with head cold. Anemopsis, that would be Anemopsis californica, yerba manza, swelling and congestion of nose, subacute with thick mucus. Andrographis, nasal congestion, cough, sore throat, muscle stiffness, fever. Asclepius, snuffles in children. Ganoderma, allergic, acute, subacute. Euphrasia, sniffles in children, frontal sinus infection. Mentha piperita, as inhalation, hot tea is diaphoretic, relaxing, cooling. Phytolacca, Plantago, mucolytic, postnasal drip, feeling of string hanging down the throat. So he'll give you these little specific indications. Some of them will just list the herb. Some of them will give you little specifics. So what that does is you kind of look through these, what are the herbs that kind of stand out to me? And then as you go through that repertory, you can look the specific herbs up here. So this is basically your cross-referencing database. You use your repertory to kind of compile your list of herbs that you would consider for this person. And then you can look them up to get more details in the main Materia Medicas there. So that's Matthew's system. These 3 books, Earthwise Herbal Repertory, and then Earthwise Herbals Volumes 1 and 2. These 3 books, some of my favorite clinical Materia Medicas. I really like them quite a bit. Now I said I'd do 5. That's technically 6 books already, but some of those are set, so I'm gonna give you a couple more here. One of them, I don't have a physical copy of this book. I've been wanting to find a physical copy of it. It is available online for free as a PDF download, which is William Cook's Physio-Medical Dispensatory. So what we have here is we've got kind of more modern, which is very, referencing most historical things. We've got the Eclectics represented here. I like William Cook's Physio-Medical Dispensatory. Very good, very, very good. Cook's dispensatory is direct, it's to the point. The monographs are concise, but there's something about the way Cook writes about the herbs that to me, it's almost like that packs a punch, man, where it's like he gets the essential information, conveys it direct, to the point, quick, easy, and straightforward. Which probably is a way I could probably learn how to write about plants like that, because I tend to be a little more long-winded when I write about the herbs. But that might just be because I enjoy writing. But Cook's very direct, very to the point. The Physio-Medicalists had a little bit of a writing, but if talking about the herbs than say the Eclectics did. They really rely heavily on the kind of stimulant, relaxant, tonic way of thinking coupled with the actions of the herb. They formulated a little bit more than the Eclectics. The Eclectics tended to do more simpling, very, very small formulas. The Physio-Medicalists did compound a little more. So with Cook, you'll get a little bit more recipe, a little more formulas there, which I appreciate as a formulator myself. I like the way Cook describes some of those just even simple pairs and triplets of how to combine things. So check out William Cook's Physio-Medical Dispensatory. You can find PDF versions online for free to download, which is just great. It's fantastic. I love Cook. I would love a physical copy of Cook. So if anyone out there has one that they want to sell, let me know. Because I like those hardbound books. They're nice. I like the way I like to hold them. I like to open them. I like to read them. And last, and I don't have them here mainly because they would fill up my whole table and also because they're down in my lab. But that would be Michael Moore. I really like Michael Moore's books. Michael Moore has his different Materia Medicas organized by bioregion. So in that way, they are a little less convenient because they're kind of built more for the wildcrafter. So, Michael Moore's Materia Medicas are cool because they're part plant ID, part wildcrafting guide, but also therapeutic. I like his therapeutic information in there. I like the way he describes the herbs. Out of all of the herbal authors I've read, I find Michael Moore to be the most entertaining. If anyone's ever read Michael Moore's books, he's a great writer and he's hilarious. His examples are just funny and really pleasurable and enjoyable to read, which I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air. But so this would be, let's see, Medicinal Plants of the Pacific West covers the whole West Coast from Alaska down through British Columbia, down through where I live here in Western Washington and Western Oregon. And I'm pretty sure that covers a bit of Northern California along the coast. It's basically the coast. And then he has Medicinal Plants of the Mountains West. So that would be west of the Rockies, basically Rockies westwards. Sorry to all the East Coasters here. He doesn't cover East Coast herbs. So he has Pacific West, Mountains West, and then the Southwest, which is all covers the desert plants. Really great books. Sometimes, to find the remedy, he doesn't have all the remedies, right? Obviously, a lot of those common East Coast woodland plants are not covered, so it's not as extensive a Materia Medica as, say, Matthew's, which cover pretty much most, if not all, of the herbs used. Well, no, they don't cover all because there's a couple he doesn't have in there. I was actually trying to look one herb up in there and it wasn't in there. And I was like, how do you not have this herb in here? I can't remember which one it was. But Michael Moore's books, not as comprehensive, but very, very good, especially for those of you that live west of the Rockies. I think these books are invaluable to have. Well, even if you don't live west of the Rockies, it's a good idea to pick those books up just because his information on them is really useful. He's got some herbs in there that you will not find in a lot of standard Materia Medicas, right? He's got a chapter on balsam root. He's like the only herbalist I've found that has information on balsam root. Pearly Everlasting. Not a lot of stuff you find on Pearly Everlasting. Things like that. So he describe some more less common used medicinal plants that can be wildcrafted west of the Rocky Mountains, which I really appreciate. And he's just really great and fun to read. So that would be, so I'm cheating a little bit. I said 5 herbs or 5 books, but I'm going to put all 3 of Michael Moore's books in there. Pacific West, Mountains West, and Desert Southwest are his main Materia Medicas. But he also has these really great little, almost pocket guides, very small little booklets that you could buy off of his now updated website from Southwest School of Botanical Medicine. Really nice quick reference guides for the pharmacy, for the clinic, just quick lists of specific indications, quick reference guides, almost like a repertory like that. I definitely recommend picking up copies of those. So these are some of my favorite books, my favorite Materia Medicas. There's others. It's hard to choose, right? But those are some of my top 5s that I use with the most consistency and regularity. I would also add as a side note, I've been using David Winston's Materia Medicas more lately. Love his Materia Medicas, are fantastic. Unfortunately, his Materia Medicas are not published in a book. So if you want David's Materia Medicas, you got to go join his program and become a student to get access to them. Which to me was worth the price of the program alone, was to just have those Materia Medicas. They're great. So I also like having them in digital format PDFs because I can search through them and find information really, really quick. I almost want to turn all these books into digital format because I've become a real fan of searchable PDF versions of books because you can find things based on keywords. Very, very useful for doing research. So I like that. David's monographs are great. I highly recommend studying with all of these people as much as you can. Of course, Michael Moore is no longer here. Of course, the Eclectics aren't here, but Matthew's great. David's great. There's lots of great herbalists to study with. Lots of great Materia Medicas out there. Lots of bad Materia Medicas out there as well. Don't buy artificial intelligence generated books. Don't just buy random herb books on Amazon. Make sure you're buying from reputable authors that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, are well educated, are well practiced. And that way you can be too. So last call, Materia Medica Monthly closes tomorrow. So if you're watching this when I'm releasing this video or the next day, that is relevant. If you're watching this after the fact, it's irrelevant now. Don't worry about it. But we are closing tomorrow, Friday, here in January of 2026. So be sure to join Materia Medica Monthly now to get exclusive access to my top secret live workshop series. And I'm not even going to announce what the topic is. It's going to be a total surprise for you. But you're going to get a whole series of live workshops, Q&A sessions with me. This is only for people that enroll by tomorrow at midnight for our January 2026 enrollment period. Remember, you can get on an annual plan and get 12 months access to Materia Medica monthly for the price of 10. So this is a exclusive discount that we only do this time of year. So be sure to head on over to our website at evolutionaryherbalism.com for all the details. Click the link in the description and show notes below for direct access for Materia Medica monthly details and to enroll. It would be an honor to have you in there and have you a part of the Evolutionary Herbalism community, the amazing community of Materia Medica monthliers, as I like to refer to them. And that program is just constantly growing. I am adding to that program every single month. You're getting fresh monographs every other month. In between those, you're getting a live workshop from me with the Q&A session at the end. So you get a live class, Q&As. This is the best way to get direct contact with me on a consistent and regular basis. And it's getting big in Materia Medica Monthly. There is a lot of content in there covering everything from herbal actions, herbal energetics, constitutional systems, 3 constitutions, 6 tissue states, herbal actions, organ affinity modules, tons of monographs. I think we're over 75 monographs in there and just continuing to grow every single month. So be an honor to have you in there. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this episode of The Plant Path. I do truly appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Be sure to follow on the podcast. Leave a review. It does really help the podcast and helps us stay in good standings with the podcast world. And of course, be sure to be on our newsletter so you can get all the updates when we're publishing new content on the Plant Path, on the blog, free workshops, open enrollment, special discounts, to be in the know of what's happening here at the School of Evolutionary Herbalism. So thank you all very much. I do truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be with me. And until the next one, take care and be well.